welcome back to my channel. I haven't been on here in a hot minute, and that's because life has been really busy. I had a baby, and by a hot minute I mean like 6 or 7 months I haven't been on here. But I'm back. I had kind of been off my channel for a while, and I went back on and I read the comments on my last video and realized that there are actually a lot of people who have uterus didelphys like myself. If you don't know already, I have 2 uteruses. But I found out a lot of people have it, and they were asking me questions about my experience being pregnant with 2 uteruses and if it was different, and they wanted some reassurance and an update kind of on baby and everything. I might actually go get her so you guys can meet her. 1 second. Hey! So this is my daughter Maven. Her name is Maven Lee, and she is 7 weeks old. She's a super good baby. Maybe I'll do a baby update on her next, but she's tired. But I kind of just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about my pregnancy experience with 2 uteruses. I feel like pregnancy is already scary enough. Being with normal anatomy and being totally healthy, it's still scary. And I know most women have fears in that first trimester, like, oh, what if it doesn't work out? What if I miscarry? Super sad, and it's very common. There's a lot of worry, and I think every mom stresses about that a little bit. And I did too, a pretty normal amount, but having 2 uteruses and not really knowing what it would look like was really scary. There's not a whole lot on the internet about people's experiences with uterus didelphys. It's not very reassuring, so it was really kind of freaky, to be honest. And I was worried that you know, the pregnancy wasn't going to be viable, but everything was developing as normally. A kind of funny thing is I went for my first ultrasound, and I was absolutely 100% positive that I was pregnant in my left uterus. I felt the implantation cramping, I felt just aching and twinges on my left side and just cramping, and I was pretty sure, like pretty 100% positive I was pregnant on my left side. I didn't have any doubts. Like even when I was ovulating, I felt cramping on my left side. So when I went in, I laid down and I said, just to save you some time, I'm pretty positive I am pregnant on my left side. And I lay down, and she puts the gel on my stomach on my left side, and there was nothing there. And I was like, what? This is weird. And then she moved over, and in my right uterus, that's where the baby was. So that's really, really weird to me. She even said that I had, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I had a corpus luteum cyst on my left ovary, which is like basically a pregnancy cyst, which indicates that I most likely should have ovulated on my left side, but somehow the baby ended up implanting on my right side. And I had never had any like MRI imaging or anything super high quality to confirm that I had uterus didelphys. All I had was an ultrasound, basically, that, you know, it isn't super clear, and it just kind of looked like I had uterus didelphys, so that's kind of what they diagnosed me with. But then it had me like completely questioning everything. If I had ovulated from my left side, how did it get to my right side? Is there some sort of opening between between the 2 uteruses? Was it a bicornuate uterus or a heart-shaped uterus instead of didelphic? Because that would allow it to kind of, you know, come down and maybe like implant in the other side. I was kind of freaked out then, because now I didn't even know what kind of uterus I had, and I'm pregnant, and I didn't know what to expect, so that was really scary. Baby still continued to grow at a normal rate, and everything was developing good, so the worry kind of started to taper off a little bit there. But one thing that's different about being pregnant with uterus didelphys is most women will worry about losing their pregnancy in the first trimester, and once they kind of pass that 12-week mark, they can kind of breathe a little bit and not stress so much. But for me, since there's like not very much information on the internet about, are you fussing? Since there's not very much information on the internet about didelphic pregnancies, I didn't know what to expect. And even though I had passed like the 12-week mark, I was still freaked out because I didn't know what the second trimester would look like or the third trimester. And it's really honestly different for everyone. Because one of the big risks with having uterus didelphys is preterm labor. So, you know, I got past 12 weeks, but then I had to worry about, am I going to go into labor at 21 weeks and lose my baby? Am I gonna go into labor at 24 weeks, like the week of viability? Am I gonna end up with a baby in the NICU for like 4 months? Like, that's the kind of thing that really, really freaked me out. And I didn't know what to expect, and I kind of had to just like go day by day and be thankful that I made it as far as I did. Anyway, some weird things that happened when I was pregnant is at 14 weeks I randomly started bleeding. And for those of you who've been pregnant, you know that if you have any spotting or any bleeding, the alarm bells go off in your head, and it's really freaking scary. Like, you wonder if you're miscarrying, you wonder if something's wrong. So I went into emergency. They did an internal exam, and they did an internal exam and they checked up there, and it turned out I was actually bleeding from the uterus that I wasn't pregnant in, which I thought was actually really interesting. There was really no explanation for it. They couldn't really tell me why I was bleeding from there, but I speculate maybe it could have been some sort of a period, since it's an empty uterus and it doesn't get the time to shed itself every month like normal. So I was thinking it could be some form of a period, or just shedding lining because it's empty and vacant for so long. So that happened. Baby was perfectly healthy. They did an ultrasound, nothing was wrong. So I kind of just moved on from that. Bleeding stopped, everything was good. So at one of my routine ultrasounds, they measured my cervix, and it was looking slightly shorter than they wanted to see it. They like to see it, I believe, over 3 or 3.5 centimeters, and mine was measuring at 2.9. I was a little freaked out. My doctor, she wasn't worried, but she wanted to kind of keep an eye on it to make sure that it doesn't like shorten too fast. So we went in for another ultrasound at 24 weeks, because they want to keep an eye on it pretty like frequently, because cervixes can change like that, like super duper quick. So you want to keep an eye on it. So we went back in at 24 weeks, and my cervix had shortened to 2.1 centimeters. So my doctor immediately put me on progesterone suppositories and told me, she didn't put me on bed rest, but she told me basically, take it super easy, don't lift anything, you know, don't go out too much, just relax and put your feet up and keep that baby cooking, basically. So that's what I did. And we went back at 26 weeks, which was 2 weeks later, and we got another ultrasound, and my cervix had grown from 2.1 centimeters to 3.2 centimeters in 2 weeks, which is really crazy and really, really, really good. So I was feeling really reassured that everything was going okay. And during this time, this was another thing that I don't know if it was related to my double uterus or if it's just normal, but I got really, really dreadfully painful pelvic bone pain. And it felt like my pelvic bones were grinding against each other. It felt like I couldn't even roll over in bed without like almost crying in pain. It was so painful. Getting up from bed hurt so bad. Honestly, it was so hard. I'm wondering, because my pregnancy was kind of on my right side and it wasn't like right in the middle of my abdomen, if that makes sense. I'm wondering if like the imbalance kind of added extra pressure to my pelvic bone and made it hurt more and grind more. That's my speculation, but it could just be a normal thing. And yes, for those of you wondering, my belly was misshapen and off to the side. But yeah, it really, really hurt, and that lasted from about 20 weeks till the end of my pregnancy. And it was torture. It was so bad. After all of that happened, we kept going, everything was good, and then randomly at 32 weeks, I started bleeding again. And it was kind of more than I would like to see. It filled like half of a panty liner, and then I kept bleeding. And it was really scary, and that happened in the middle of the night. So I got my husband up and we went straight to the hospital to triage to get checked. And they did another internal exam and they measured my cervix, and it was 1 centimeter long now and 1 centimeter dilated, which is not really good. You don't want to be dilated that early, I don't think. Like, that means that your body's kind of prepping for labor, and that's still really early. That's 2 months early still, and that's not something that I really wanted to deal with that early. I wanted to wait till, you know, at least 37 weeks before I had her. I had to stay in hospital for like 3 days so that they could monitor me, monitor her movement, make sure that she was healthy and that there wasn't some sort of like placenta abruption going on, because that can be really, really dangerous. So they held me in there for 3 days. Everything was looking good, so they let me go. And once again, there was no explanation for why that happened. So she stayed cooking in there for a little while longer. Another thing about my pregnancy is that little Miss Maven was breeched the entire time, and she didn't move. Like, she was in the same position the whole time and facing my back most of the time, so I didn't even get any like super cute profile shots or anything. So she was stuck head up, feet down, and yeah, she wouldn't budge really, and that was kind of a bummer because I was kind of hoping to have, you know, a natural delivery, but unfortunately that was not safe and I had to opt for a C-section. So my doctor scheduled a C-section for 38 weeks, and somehow, magically, Maven stayed in there till 38 weeks and I got to experience my scheduled C-section. I can go more into my whole C-section experience in another video, but I kind of just wanted to talk about the pregnancy right now. The pregnancy overall went really well. It was hard. It was really painful. I looked lopsided. It was scary, I'm not gonna lie, but I made it full term, and it is totally possible for any of you guys out there who have uterus didelphys and are kind of freaked out about pregnancy. Don't freak out. I know it's different for everyone, and it's not going to be the same as mine, obviously, but it's totally possible. I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head about what was different about my pregnancy compared to normal, but yeah, I'm just gonna end the video off with that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope any of you out there with the same condition as me will have success in your pregnancies. And if you have experienced a pregnancy with uterus didelphys, please tell me your experience below, because I'd really love to hear it, because I can't find any experiences on the internet, so I'd love to hear from you guys. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe below.